What's going on, everyone? Bruno Quintella here with New Direction School, and I'm creating a quick video for you guys on discount points. Now, what's the main idea about discount points? Let's dive into what they are first, and then I'll explain the main idea. So, first of all, what are points? You're going to find this in the mortgage world. Every time, or actually in the finance world, anything about numbers, you'll know what points are as soon as I explain this to you. So, first of all, what is 1 point? Okay, very important that you understand that 1 point, every time you hear this point thing, 1 point equals 1% of something. So 1 point is 1% of something. In this case, because we're talking about mortgages, it's 1% of the loan. Okay? 1% of the loan. Now, when we purchase something, we don't purchase at 100%. They require something called down payment. And the loan is the difference between your down payment and whatever you're purchasing. So it's very important you understand this difference, right? We have 100% purchase price. Okay, that's PP here is purchase price. And they say you have to come up with 5% down payment. The difference between these two is 95% LTV, or maximum loan amount given to you. So it's very simple. In this scenario, and 100%, 5%, and 95%, it's easy numbers. So when we see 100%, guys, it's very simple. Let's talk about $100,000. $100,000 purchase price. And we said 5% down payment. So what is 5% down payment? In this case, $5,000 down payment. And then my question was, what was the difference? Now, the difference between $100,000 purchase price minus the $5,000 down payment is your loan amount. As we just said before, from the LTV, we determine the loan amount. So $95,000 loan. Okay. Why is this important? Why do you need to know the loan? All right. Why do you need to know the loan? Because I just said to you guys that the point was 1% of the loan amount, right there. 1% of the loan amount, right? Not the purchase price. So let's recap right here. Going back. So we have 1 point equals 1% of the loan amount, right? So every loan is based on 100% purchase. How much are you buying for, right? And they appraise based on that value. So if the property is not appraised, then you have to come up with a difference, but that's a different story. For this example, we're going to assume that the purchase price is whatever that property appraised for. So in this case, your lender is going to say, hey, the max that will lend to you is 95% loan to value. So if 100% is the loan value, is the purchase price, 100%, 95% loan to value means 95 is the maximum loan that it'll give you. And the difference is your down payment. Scrolling to the right, I put actual numbers. And what do we have? We have 100% purchase price, which is $100,000 in my example. We talked about 95% loan, or LTV, so that's $95,000 in this example. And you have to come up with $5,000 down payment. Now, I did clarify here that 1 point equals 1% of the loan. And look, I put in red because it's that important, not the purchase price. So 1 point is never, ever, ever calculated as 1% of the purchase price. And guys, that's where most of you make a mistake in the state exam or in the school exam even. When you're doing your math, you always calculate, for some reason, the 1% of the purchase. You got to put it in your mind, this is very important, not the purchase price. 1% of the loan, right? So, let's clear this out. Now that you know this, all right, and again, this is a quick video, so you can always go back to it, back and forth. Now that you know this, you also know that I started the chapter talking about, I started this question with discount points. So 1 point is 1% of the loan, but it's called discount point. And here's what I want you guys to think as far as discounts. When you go to a store, right, and you have like a coupon, for instance, you can redeem the coupon in order to get a discount, right? So it's to pay less for something. That's what it is. So each point, what we're trying to say is that 1 point equals a reduction. I'll talk about this better later. A reduction in interest rate. Okay. So 1 point equals in reduction of interest rate. Now, here's something you need to know as well. People get confused in this. As I told you, 1 point equals 1%. Okay? What you need to know is that it's not a direct relationship either. It's not like direct relation either. It's not 1 point or 1% equals 1%, equals 1% reduction. Not at all. Okay? So we're not saying that if you put 1% extra down, your interest rate is going to drop 1%. No, that's not what we're saying. In fact, what it could be, okay, and this is just, I'm just putting it out there. I'm not going to get it too complicated here in this video. But 1% could actually equal, let's say, 0.25% reduction. And I'm saying this, guys, because there's some instructors out there, and maybe it's me that's wrong. I hope not. But from all the people that I've spoken with and all the mortgage people directly that I've spoken with, so far, we're right on the money on what we're trying to say here in this example. What I was going to say right now is this reduction really depends on your lender and their guidelines. So a lender could say, hey, 1% equals 0.25% reduction. So you prepay 1 in order to get 1/4. Some lenders might say you prepay 1 in order to get 1/8 reduction. So 0.125. You understand? So every lender has their own qualifications of what they want as far as a point exchange. All right. And when you go deal with private lenders as well, that will change. Credit unions will change. From lender to lender, there's different guidelines or acceptance of what they're reducing. So in this example only, if your interest rate, let's say, and I'll show you the examples all in a sec, but if your interest rate was, let's say, 5 1/4, okay? This is your interest rate for a 30-year term. That means your mortgage lasts 30 years, okay? Now, if we paid 1 point, because that's what your lender is asking for, if you paid 1 point, 1% of the loan, it would equal a reduction of 0.25% less, right? So reduction. So that means that instead of paying 5 right here, instead of paying 5 1/4, now, because of what you've done, you're going to pay 5% for the term of the loan. So 5 1/4 is what it was supposed to be, but your lender accepted an exchange of that certificate, that coupon that you have for the store. Remember I told you about the coupon for you to pay less when you go redeem it, right? Here they said your coupon is 1%. Give me 1%, right, redemption, and we reduce the price of this loan from 525 to 5%. And now you're probably like thinking, wait a minute, but that's not much of a difference. It is. It is much of a difference when you consider it to be for 30 years. Okay? It's 30 years. All right? So let's calculate this difference. So let's assume, and again, I'm going to give you 3 examples. This is going to be the first example. Let's assume that, sorry. Let's assume that you have a mortgage for, let's say, $475,000. All right? Loan. We already remember that, right? You remember this, that the 1% is from the loan, not from the purchase price. So here I'm going straight to the loan amount. Okay? And let's say we consider the term of 30 years. Okay? At 5.25%. And if you were to pay the 1 point, it would equal 5%. So you pay 1 point and it dropped from 5.25 to 5%. So we need to calculate the difference between these two and see if it's worth it. Does it make sense? Right? It might make sense, it might not make sense. So I'm going to go into something that's called amortization schedule, and you guys are going to have this, and they will provide it to you in the state exam. We have, again, 3% rate, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, right? And then we're talking about the 5% here, or 5.25. So the first thing we need to figure out for 30 years, which is this column right here, for 30 years, what is the amount needed to amortize? So 5.25 for 30 years. So 5.25 there, 5.25 for 30 years is 5.53. So this equals 5.53. If it was at 5% for the same 30 years, it would be 5.37. Okay? So the way this works is you find the appropriate rate, you come all the way to the right to the appropriate term. In this case, we talked about 30 years. Down. Right? And that means this is what we have. So 5.25, 30 years, 5.53, 5%, 30 years, 5.37. That tells you that your monthly payments, okay, your monthly payment is going to be, so if it's 475,000, that number is per thousand. So let's go here, do this calculation real quick. 475,000. We have to divide by 1,000 because this number right here is per every $1,000. So how many thousands, I'm sorry, how many thousands we have in 475,000? And we have 475. This is the number we're going to use right here to multiply by these two numbers, okay? So 475 is the number we're going to use to multiply by these two numbers to figure out, guys, what's the monthly payment. So in this case, we are going to multiply this by 475 and this one by 475. And what do we have? Okay, so sorry, I'm good with math, but I'm going to speed up real quick by going to my calculator. 475 times 5.53 And we're looking at a payment of $2,626.75. Okay. And as far as the other one, it was 5.37 times 475. It's 2,550.75. So this is the difference, guys. We're going to put it here in a second. But this is the real difference. I mean, the question is, do you want to pay 5.25 or do you want to pay 5? It's for 30 years, right? So the term, the duration doesn't change. But that 0.25% makes a difference. That 0.25% just dropped you from 2,626. It dropped you to 2,550, right? So here's what we got: 2,626.75 minus 2,550.75, and we're looking at a whopping savings of $76 per month. $76 per month. You're like, all right, that's all we're going to save. Does it make any sense, right? So prepaid points doesn't always, or discount points doesn't always make sense. If you intend to keep the house for short term, maybe it's not a good idea. But if you intend to live there for a long time, let me show you what happens. Let's figure out how much is 1 point here. So 1 point. And guys, it's a video, so you can go back and forth, stop as many times as you can. But 1 point, right? 1 point equals 1%. We got this. Got it covered. 1% of what? Of $475,000, because that's the loan, not the purchase price. All right? So my question now is, $475,000 so my question is, $475,000 times 1%, how much is that? You're saving, you're prepaying an extra $4,750. And now it's messing with your mind even more. Why would it make sense? $4,750 for me to save $76 a month. Again, if it's short term, it might not make sense. If it's long term, it might make sense. How do we figure out if it makes sense? Well, we're going to figure out how much savings did you get. Because you're putting $4,750 up front, right? $4,750 up front to save 76. What we're going to do is divide this 4,750. We're going to divide by 76. And this equals 62.5 months. 62.5 months. How many months do we have in a year? 12. Okay? 12 months. So we're going to divide this by 12. And that equals so it's 5 years, right? 5 years. And then 2.5 months. That means, guys, it takes 5 years, roughly 5 years, to make it even, roughly 5 years to recuperate your money. So if you're trying to sell your property in 3 years, does it make sense? No. But if you stay there, guys, if you stay there for 30 years, you have a 30-year mortgage. Let's say your investment, so we're going a little bit beyond what you need for the exam, but it's good to know because look, that's $76 a month per month times 360 months, because that's 30 years, right? What is the total? So $76 times 360. We're talking about 27,360 minus your investment of 4,750. You saved 22,610. You guys got it? So this is what happened. You saved money. You saved a bunch of money by putting 1 point up front. That 0.25% for the lifetime of the loan, guys, is what made it all worth it. So let's recap real quick, and then I'm going to give you 2 more examples. Recap real quick. 1 point equals 1% of the loan, not the purchase price. Okay? Everything is always based on 100% purchase price minus the down payment or minus the LTV. What is LTV? Is the maximum loan that will give you. So it's a percentage. Maximum loan they'll give you. So in $100,000, if the LTV is 95, then the loan is 95,000. So per every 1,000, it's 95. I'm sorry, per every 100,000, 95. And the down payment is $5,000. Now, you prepay interest. That's what it is. You pay 1 point up front. It's not a 1% reduction, right? But it could represent a 0.25% reduction for, let me just add here, for lifetime of loan. For the lifetime of the loan. So you prepay once up front for a 0.25% reduction of lifetime of the loan. And then I went on to an example. Let's say you borrowed $475,000, okay? And it's for 30 years. And you have 5.25% is the interest rate that they were charging you. But they gave you an opportunity to give 1%, and instead of 5.25%, you pay 5. All right? So it's the 1% is a certificate that you're redeeming in order to pay less for borrowing the money. Okay? So you went to the restaurant, you got your certificate here. The meal is $100. Here's a certificate to pay only $20. Great. That's what it is. You're prepaying like a certificate, so you get a benefit. In this case, for the lifetime of the loan. Now, to figure out what the benefit was, we had to use this table right here. And this table, right, is given to you for the school and state exam. This table, you're not going to need it in real life, because in real life you can have mortgage calculators, but in state exam you cannot use a mortgage calculator. In the school exam, no mortgage calculator. In neither of them you can use your phone. So got to figure out how to use this. How do we use it? We're going to find the appropriate rate. So 5% is right there, 5.25% is right here, and we're going to come all the way here to the 30 years. And that's what we did. And we found these numbers. So 537 for 5%, 553 for 5%. One of the things you need to know is that this right here is the number to amortize for every $1,000. And that's why when we came here, I divided this by, so the loan amount I divided by 1,000, all right? So let's go back to the numbers we found. For 5.25%, we found 5.53. For 5%, we found 5.37, okay? These are the numbers needed to amortize at 5% and 5.25% respectively for 30 years. So we're going to find this number 475, because it's per thousands, right? And we multiply by these. What did we get? Your monthly payment of $2,626 and monthly payment of $2,553. 550. This one is if your loan was at 5.25. This one is if your loan is at 5%. So what savings are you getting by putting money up front? You're getting $76 a month in savings. Now, is it worth it? That's what I asked you. And I said, let's figure out. The 1 point, which equals 1% of the loan, is 4,760. And this could be a school exam question or a state exam question. So you need to know how soon can you get your money back? It's not about is it worth it in the exam, but how soon? And this is an exact question, right? So how do we figure out? Well, I prepaid 4,750. I divide this by 76 savings, right? The difference between what I would be paying and what I am paying, right? And that gave us 62.5 months. Dividing by 12, we're talking about a 5-year term for us to get a return on our money. 5 years to get our money back. They could ask you, what are your savings? How do we figure out the savings? Well, right here. We have to figure out what is the total of that savings, right? For the whole 30 years, it's $76 a month times 360 months, which is 30 years, right? And that represents $27,360 that we saved for the lifetime of the loan. For the whole 30 years, how much did we save? $27,360. But don't forget, for us to get the saving, we had to put in $4,750. So did we save the full 27? No. What we saved was the difference. This was the real savings, $22,610. All right, so that will be the answer if they ask you what were the savings, okay? Now, again, does it make sense? That's totally up to you, to your buyer. In this scenario, go ahead, put 4,000 into something and see if you're gonna get this return. That's how I see it, all right? If you're in the waiting for the long haul, guaranteed. If it's a short term, maybe not. So it's a gamble. All right. Hope you guys are good so far in this. Let me open another one. I'm going to give you a quick example for another question here. And look, this is not that complicated. Just like everything else, we try to complicate things even more. All right, so I'm going to give you another example. You just got to remember that points is that certificate, that voucher to redeem in order to get a long-term benefit, okay? So I'm going to go over 2 quick questions. So that was a simplified question. 2 quick questions right here. One of them is, if you had a house, let's say, that's sold for $360,000. Actually, let me give you this real quick. $360,000. And the buyer obtained a mortgage for, and I'm just writing it down so it makes it easier for you, obtained a mortgage for $288,000. So purchase price and loan. How much money would the buyer pay in discount points if a lender charged 2 points? 2 points, right? And the question was, I'm going to show you guys how I do every time. The question was, how much would they pay in points? Right. So this is what we got. House was sold for $360,000 purchase price. $288,000 is the loan, and they're asking for 2 points. How much are the points? So this is how I break things down. I extract information from the question, break it down like this so it's easy to look at versus all those words, okay? So first thing, I just explained to you, but I'm going to ask you, do we need the first number? Is it necessary, the first number, the purchase price? No. The answer is no, because we already know by now that points are based on the loan. So this is not needed. It's just extra information they give you in the exam. Got it? Cross out what you don't need. Next, they're asking how much we're paying in points. This is a simplified question. we know that each point equals 1%. So 2 points equals 2% of what? Of loan. How much is the loan? $288,000. So now, what we're trying to figure out is 288,000 times 2%. And that gives you how much you're paying in points. This is like the simplest question ever, right? You're paying 5,760. So what was the answer? 5,760 in points. Where's that Staples button? That was easy. You guys understand? So what you need to know is simply, do we need the purchase price? If we already have the loan amount, sometimes they don't give you, but if we already have the loan amount, right, then we don't need the purchase price. If they told you the down payment, or if they told you the LTV, then you need to come up with the loan amount. In this case, cross one out, and we just needed the other two pieces, which is the loan and the points. 2 points, 2% of the loan. Simple. 288,000 times 2%, 5,760 in points. All right. So that was a simple one. And now I'm going to give you one more question. All right, cool. So this one's a little bit more complicated. As you guys can see, there's a little bit more to it. There's more questions. So I'm going to get this out of the way. Get a new one. All right. So the buyer has agreed to $175,000 sales price. So again, I'm going to write it down as we read. $175,000. And this is the purchase price again. They agreed to 2.5 loan discount points. So 2.5 points. And, wait, this is a new one. 1% loan origination fee. Okay. If the buyer receives a 90% loan to value, 90% LTV, how much will the buyer owe at closing for points and origination fee? All right. So if you guys notice, now they give you percentages, but they didn't give you the actual loan. And they added another feature, which was the origination fee. All right. So points and originations are two types of fees that you can get on a loan. All right. Next. What is the total cost? So let's switch back real quick. And boom. So this is what we got based on what we just read. $175,000 was the purchase price. Again, I break it down. 2.5 points, 2.5 points. 1% origination. 90% LTV. What is the total cost? And the total cost is points plus origination. So let's figure this out. First question is, what are points? And points we already know, they're 1% of the loan. So in this case, 2.5 points, 2.5% of loan. We got this. But wait, we don't have a loan. We don't have a loan amount yet, right? How are we going to get there? Easy. We have the next best thing, which is 90% LTV. So let's figure out what the loan is. So we have 175,000 times 90% equals 157,500 loan. So 157,500 is the loan amount because we had the LTV, remember? Just write it here. LTV, purchase price. Purchase price times the LTV gives us the loan amount. Okay? So we know we have to pay 2.5% of the loan and 1% origination. Guess what? Origination of loan. Here's the thing. So just to make it simpler, because we're paying 2.5% of the loan in points and 1% origination, one of the things that we can do right away is add these two. So we're looking at 2.5% plus 1%, and the total is 3.5% that we have to pay in fees. Right? So 3.5% we have to pay in fees. So now that we got this out of the way, we know that we have a $157,000 loan. What are we going to do next? Multiply it by 3.5% fees times 3.5% in fees. And this equals so the answer for this one will be 5,512.50. So this will be the total that we will have to pay in connection with origination fees and points. All right? So recapping real quick, what are points? It's a percentage of the loan, not the purchase price. Why do we pay points, or why would we pay points? Because we're trying to redeem a certificate. That point is a certificate, let's say, to reduce the interest rate for the lifetime of the loan. So we're prepaying interest for the lifetime of the loan. All right, so they discount your obligation for the lifetime of the loan. We went over 3 examples. I started off with a little bit more complicated. I went to a simpler one. And now in this one, it's also simple. We just added origination fees. It's just to show you that it is simple once you grasp the concept of 1 point equals 1% of the loan, not the purchase price. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this explained. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, instructor@newdirection.school. Again, instructor@newdirection.school. And I hope you have a good one, and I hope you keep learning. Thank you, guys.